So, Assalamu alaikum. Go ahead and start.
All right, salam alaikum. So AMAC wants to make sure that we go over the unemployment insurance with all of you. A lot of you have been asking questions. And so this presentation is to look at who are the people that qualify, what is the process for filling out the forms. We will walk through some of the forms with you, and then we'll go ahead and answer your question at the end of it. If you have any question while I'm speaking, something comes to mind, type it in the chat box. We're trying to record the presentation because we want to translate it into other languages. And so that's why we want to make sure everybody is mute and we have less static or less disruption in the background. So put your question in the chat box. We will take it, Sabina will let me know and we'll answer it, or we'll do everything at the end. So the presentation is about the unemployment insurance. Last week we talked about the payroll, the paycheck protection program. This time we want to talk about unemployment insurance. So the first thing we want to look at is who are the people that are eligible for unemployment insurance. And so the first set of people will be anyone that have lost their job, whether they were laid off or followed. And there's a whole list of category also that relates to the COVID virus. It's on the Tennessee website. So whether you are laid off because you had to take care of somebody who is sick, whether you have the COVID virus yourself, whether you have to stay home with your children because of COVID, or whether you can't get to your job because the president, our governor, and our mayor have a safer at home order that we should stay at home. And because of that, you cannot get to your job. That is another set of people that can apply for unemployment insurance. So anything that relates to COVID, or you have to quit your job because of COVID, that is a class. All of that makes you eligible to be able to apply for unemployment insurance. You have to be willing and able to work, and you have to have wages from January to December. So remember that unemployment insurance is for people that have a job, a W-2 job to start with. These are people that the employers have already paid into the unemployment insurance. So if you have that wage base, you're able to apply for unemployment insurance. There is a category of people that don't meet these requirements, those that are self-employed or the employers did not pay into the insurance. We will cover that under the pandemic unemployment program. But for now, if you just look at it as you're not working, you don't have a job, you do qualify for unemployment insurance. If it is a situation where you were wrongfully fired, your employer is still there, you could get a job, then the advice is that go ahead and still apply, and then they will look into it further. Some employers do file an employment claim for their employees. And so to make things easy, part of the process is that large employers, people that have a lot of employees, can go ahead and apply for their employees. So if you work for a large company, you want to make sure to check if your employer already applied for you. So let's say I have a restaurant, I have 15 people working for me, and I have to close because of the COVID virus. Instead of each of my employee filing for unemployment insurance, I can file for them by the state regulation, and I can list all the 15 on the application. What that does is that as an employee, when you try to apply, your name is already with the Department of Labor, and it makes the application a lot easy because they don't have to verify who your employer is. And so check if you have a large employee, or check with your employer to see if they've already filed on your behalf so that you wouldn't have to duplicate it and mess up your application. But if your employer have not filed for you, or it's a very small employer, then go ahead and you can file by yourself. So we'll talk about the pandemic unemployment insurance. So this is part of the CARE Act, and this is where people that are self-employed, people that have a job, have a gig, contract workers, those are the people that the pandemic unemployment insurance or assistance covered. And again, this slide also talks about if you are not able to work, whether as a employee or as a contractor, whatever it is, if you are not able to get to your place of income or wages because of COVID, that's what the slide is also addressing. It used to be that you cannot just stay home and apply for unemployment insurance in the past, but because of the COVID and because of that, this is part of the stipulation that this is a very rare case. And so the CARE Act is saying people are staying at home, not because they don't want to, but because the government is saying stay at home. And that's why it's very important to note that this is just for the virus situation, and almost everybody will qualify under that. Again, this is a very detailed list of the COVID-19 and how it allows a lot of people to qualify. And so you can look at it on the Tennessee.gov Labor Workforce Department. Again, lists a whole lot of situations wherein, due to the COVID virus, somebody passed away, you became the breadwinner, you had to quit your job closed. So there's a lot of situation that it covers, like I said in the beginning, and the slide is just giving you more examples. So now when we talk about the pandemic unemployment assistance, again, this has to do with people that are contractors. You don't have an employer, you don't have a W-2, you are a 1099, or you have your own business, you are a sole proprietor, right? You file a Schedule C, you own your own business, wherein you don't get a 1099, you don't get a W-2, you just file the Schedule C based on the income and expenses that you have. This will apply to you. And because, like I said before, unemployment insurance is by employers that paid into it. So what the CARE Act is now doing is that we know that people that are self-employed that never paid unemployment insurance, how do we cover them? And that's what the pandemic unemployment assistance does. It allows people that fall into that category to be able to file for the insurance. And that's the pandemic unemployment assistance. It gives you about 39 weeks of eligibility to be able to get payment from the state unemployment insurance. It also, if you're already getting unemployment insurance, part of what the CARE Act also did is that it allows you to get an additional $600 per week on top of what you're already getting. That is for people that are already on unemployment insurance. It also allows you to have an additional 13 weeks of benefits if you are eligible. So unemployment insurance for those that have job, W-2, pandemic unemployment assistance for those that are self-employed. Like anything, when you look at the people that qualify, there's a whole lot of lists and there's a whole lot of people that will qualify. But if your employer is open and you were fired because you did something wrong, then you cannot apply for the benefit. If you just quit without a reason, not because you're sick, not because it's tied to the COVID, not because you couldn't get there, then you don't qualify. Or you just refuse to go to work. Now, again, when we say refuse to work, remember that if you're refusing on the basis of the virus, I cannot come to work, it will put me in danger, I have somebody who could be sick at home, my child is out of school, I cannot come to work because I have to stay with my kid. That is not considered refuse to work. That means that you can apply for unemployment. So these are usually the general reason not to before, but because of the COVID, most instances, these do not apply. The fourth one that says you don't have qualifying wages, again, does not apply with the COVID because we now have the pandemic unemployment assistance. And so don't worry about this. Just think in terms of, is it because of the virus? Are you not able to go to answer those questions first and then go ahead and apply? So when you decide to apply, it's important to let you know that the website do time out. So after every 15 minutes, if there is nothing happening, it will kick you out and you have to start all over again. So it is very important that before you start your application, that you have all the documents that you will need. So you will need your social security number. If you don't know it by heart, make sure you get the form and you write it down and you have it with you. You will need to create a password and a username. So when you go to the jobs for TN. That is the website. Jobs, the letter 4, TN. That's where you will go to file the insurance claim. You will need to have a username and a password to be able to get in. You will have, obviously, your basic information, your name, address, and all of that. If you want the money to be deposited into your bank account, you will need your bank routing number and your account number. You will also need your employment history. This is if you are applying for unemployment insurance. You will need to be able to show where you worked, who your employer is, and how much money, what is the name of the company, what is the dates that you worked there, and how much money you made there. We're going to take a look at the form later, and then we can show you what that looks like. Again, there are two things. If you have an employment, you're a W-2 employee and you lost that job, you'll file the unemployment insurance. If you're self-employed, then you will do the self-employed one under the pandemic unemployment assistance. So, but basically, you will need, if you have this information, it would enable you to be able to fill it out quickly without timing out. Military, farm workers, workers' compensation, all of that information you should have the answers to before you log in onto the website. So how do you start the application process? Again, you go to jobsfortn.gov, jobsfortn.gov. If I click on it, it should take us to that website. And then on the website, you will create a username and a password. I want to see if I can get you there. If you give me a second, let me see if I can show you that screen. Okay, let me see. Do you see that screen?
Try it again.
Okay, all right, let's see. Let's see if we can get back. Hold on. Technology stuff, so trying to figure out how to do this here, but I was hoping that I can, let's see.
You can also go back into share screen and pick another screen.
New share. Okay, that's what it is. It says new share. Thank you. All right, let's see. All right, can you see that now?
Yes.
Can you see that? Okay, good.
Yes.
Technology. So we will try to get there. So you are on jobfortn.com. You go ahead and you create a username and a password. I don't have any. I should have actually done one here, but let's see if we could do one real quick. And so you click on register. Oh, I'm already registered. I know I'm not. Let's see. I want to create a username and account. I'm an individual, so I need to go in here. Can you still see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So you go in and you go in that you want to register. Once you get to the register, it takes you to the registration screen. There's a chat box if you have questions that you can be asking them question about. We're not doing that at this point, but just go straight there. Do you agree? Yes, I agree. And then you follow the prompts. There's a privacy agreement. You see all of that. And so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I wanted to at least take you to a point where that is how you go on and you register. Once you register, then you'll be able to apply either for the unemployment insurance or you will apply for the pandemic assistance. All right.
So, on the screen you're seeing, like after you log in, you would go to your left side and where it says unemployment services, if you click that, it will come out file a claim. And then it'll take you through the process to file a claim.
Okay. Now, are you still, which screen are you looking at now? Are you looking back at my presentation or are you looking at the Tennessee website?
It's still on the Tennessee website.
Okay, all right, let me put that down and go back to, again, sorry about that. It's, okay, now we'll go back to Sorry. So can you see my PowerPoint now?
No. Go back to screen, share screen.
Again? Okay, all right. Sorry, folks. I wonder if you can share multiple screen at a time, but I don't know if you could do that. So we will just take it as we have it. And so my apologies about all of this, but we'll get you where we need to go. And so once you get on the site, just follow the information, create a username and password. There is like Sabina said, on the left, you will see unemployment services to file a claim. Like I said, if you leave it for 15 minutes or more, you have to log out and you have to start all over again. It is important for you to know that you should not use the back button on your computer. Always use previous. If you use the back button, it does not work and that will mess you up. So use the previous button to go back if you have to change something. If you have any question, you want to process your claim online, you can call the number and we will make sure that this slide is shared and the video so that way you can call it, and that's 844-224-5818. Please note that it's better for you to apply online than to try to do it by the phone because it takes a longer time. Many of the questions that you will need to file is a yes and no question, and so it should be very easy to go through. When it gets to your work history, as you're filling out the form, it's going to ask you what type of work you do. And don't worry, we have a screenshot of the form that I will share with you later, but we just want to go over some of the info. So the company name that you work for, what is your employment history, where are the places that you work from January to December 2019, what dates did you work there? Were you paid hourly? Were you paid weekly, monthly, or yearly? You will need to put that there. There's also a lot of a yes and no question. You can search for the company. If it's an employer with W-2 that is already paying into the system, you should be able to search for the employer and it will come up. But if it's a sole proprietor, if you're filing as a self-employed, then that would not apply, and we'll go through that as well. So here's a screenshot of what your employer information will look like. And so if you are self-employed, you would put right there, you know, self-employed. But if you have an employer with a W-2, your employer name goes in there. This is the information about your employer. This is the address for your employer. You put in your phone number, as well as this is your personal number, and then your what type of number it is. Is it a work phone or is it a cell phone? This is a work phone. That's what that screen looks like. It also asks you some yes and no questions. So here it's asking you for your industry code. It's very easy. Every basic industry have a code. It's called the NAICS codes. And so you can search for it. It is not only just number, it always have a description. So you will see whether it's a masjid, whether it's a school, whether it's a restaurant, it's a car lot, you will find there transportation. So you will find the different description. Once you pick the description that goes with the one that you want, then the number will automatically pop in there for you. In this case, we're using AMAC as the example. And so when you search for an organization like AMAC, a civic organization, the NAICS code is 813410. Then it asks you how much money did you earn? Did you at least make $27.50 from this employer? Is this your last employer? Obviously it is, especially if you're not working anymore. I will ask for your job title. Again, these are very basic information that should be easy to complete. So this is, we're using this for Sabina. The job title is Executive Director. And then here again, you look into what is your job code. There's a drop down. When you click on the drop down right here, it gives you the option of the different job relating to the NAICS code that you pick. So if it's a restaurant that you pick, then this drop down will ask whether you're a server, whether you're a waiter, whether you're a cook. And so every job that relates to that type of industry code will come out in this drop down. and you should be able to pick the one that has to do with your job. In this case, Sabina picked a civic organization, and one of the jobs relating to it is a program director with the occupation code of 27201203. Now, this is where you have to put in how much money you make and what type of employment you have. Again, I will keep saying that the first part of this presentation is talking about unemployment insurance for W-2 employees, for those that got paid as an employee and get a W-2 at the end of the year. If you are self-employed, you are a sole proprietor, we will talk about how you apply in a second, okay? And so as an employee, it asks you what type of employment do you have. There is a drop down there that allows you to pick whether you're regular or you're part-time. It also asks you how many hours did you work. If you work less than 30 hours, you're part-time. If you work 30 hours or more, you're full-time. And then here it's asking you, can you put how many hours you work in a week? Not everybody works 40 hours. And so here you will go ahead on this drop down and you should be able to put how many hours you do work. Partial hours is if you work 30 hours and 50 minutes, and then you can select those partial hours here. Now, I want you to pay attention to these two boxes here. Here it's asking for your gross salary, and then the box right after it is asking you, what is that gross salary based upon? So if you want to put your salary for the year, so I make 20,000 a year, then I'm going to put 20,000 as my gross salary. But then here at the bottom, I'm going to put that it is based on an annual basis. So it's an annual salary. If I'm paid on a weekly basis, my job gives me $500 every week. Then in the gross salary, I will put $500. But salary is based on weekly. So that's what I will check with this one, and so on and so forth. So you can do weekly, you can do hourly, you can do annually, but you have to make sure that whatever you pick correspond. So if you put 20,000 here, and down here you said it's weekly, the system will reject it because that does not make sense. It's going to look at it and say, no, there's no way you're making 20,000 a week. At least I don't know a lot of people that do. So you will kick it back and then you have to say, yeah, I make 20,000 a week. But so be very mindful of what you want to put weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, annually, and that's that. If you are a commission based, some people get paid based on a commission. Used car sales people, you get paid based on how many cars that you sell. Then that is what this is for, where you need to check whether you're commission based or not. The next box will ask you, when did you start working for this employer? And you need to put the date that you worked there. Are you currently employed? No. Because if you are still working, and I need to make this very clear, you cannot file unemployment insurance if you still have a job and you're still working full time. Now, if your hours is reduced, you used to work 40 hours, but because of the virus, you can only work 20 hours, you can still file because you've lost some wages. Now, but if you're still working 40 hours and you're still being paid your full salary, your salary is not cut, everything is still the same, then please do not file unemployment insurance, because if you do, that could be considered as fraud. And all of this information can be verified. The other thing that I want to make sure that I also stress for everyone is that unemployment insurance is taxable. It's not free money. So you will pay taxes on it at the end of the year. You may pay, let me put it like that, depending on your income bracket and how much other income you have, you might, based on your filing status and a whole lot of other things, you may or may not, but it is taxable income to you at the end of the day. Also, for people that might be looking at it, because it's unemployment insurance, it is not earned income. It is not an income that you did working on a job. So therefore, it does not qualify for earned income credit. So I wanted to make sure that I clarified those. So it's taxable. You cannot use it for earned income credit. And if you're still having a job and you're still working, you are not eligible to file. So If you have any question, and I hope I'm not going too fast, I wanted to make sure that we cover the slide so we have a lot of time for questions. But if you have questions as I'm going on, please put it in the chat box.
So there was one question, but it kind of goes back to the beginning. So we'll keep that for the end. And just to verify, if you're working and your hours were reduced, and so then you can apply for unemployment benefits.
Yes. Yes. If you're working and your hours are reduced and your hours is reduced, because again, most businesses are closing now. People are asking folks to work from home. Everybody is doing limited hours. You used to make $600 a week. Now you're only making 200. Yes, you have loss of income. And so you can apply based on that. And so this just went on again to talk about how much do you make gross earnings per week? What is the number of hours that you work? Now here is where it asks you this one right here, and I hope you can see my cursor as I'm moving it, that has for reason for separation. There's a whole lot of reason for separation, but if it's related to the COVID, you should pick lack of work. That is what you want to pick there. Don't just put that I quit. Because yes, you could quit under normal circumstances, you may not get unemployment, but if it's because of the virus, if it's because of the stay at home, if it's because of anything, the reasons that we give in the front, in the first 1 or 2 slides, if that apply to you, because we don't have something that says COVID, what you will select will be lack of work. And if you want to provide additional information, feel free to do that. Your last day of work, obviously, you need to put that information in there as well. So these are the yes and no question that you will have to answer to. Does the employer intend to recall you within 16 weeks? Yes or no. If you don't know the date that you will have to go back to work, then put no. Just answer it based on the information that you have. Were you separated because of family responsibility that you had to attend to? Yes or no? Remember that if it's COVID related, I will put it in that additional comment to be able to say that I had to stop because my son is sick or because of the COVID or something. So that way it's explained in detail one of the reasons why you had to. Are you employed with a school, with that education institution? Yes or no? Are you an officer of the business? Are you related to an office of business? Then you need to also say whether you are. If you are the owner of the business, in my case, when I have my CPA firm, it is a corporation. I have employees. I'm also an employee of that corporation because it's an S corporation. So I am an officer of that company. And so in that case, I will have to check a yes here. And my children that worked for me at the time will have to check a yes as well. It does not impact anything in terms of what you get or not get, but it's just for informational purposes. All right. Then we'll go to the last one. Now, it used to be that when you applied for unemployment insurance, there is the separation question is very important as to why did you leave your employer? Because the reason for leaving matters in the past as to why you left. But because of the COVID-19, that's why it says you should put that lack of work, whether you're laid off, whether you have the business closed, whether you couldn't go because of your kid, whatever it is for COVID, just put the lack of work for any COVID related reason. It doesn't matter whether you quit because your child is sick. It doesn't matter whether you were discharged because of anything. If it has to do with the COVID, you have to put lack of work. And that's the instruction that we're given by the states. So that
I wanted to mention something, Zulfat. So when we filled out several slides before on your work history, so you'll have an opportunity because they're looking at your work history for the last 18 months. So while you're filling out the application, you will be able to put in multiple places where you worked in, and you're going to fill out all that information for each job you had. And that's important because
Yes.
that can determine what your overall benefits will be. So I just wanted to clarify it. So, you know, you're going to have the opportunity to fill that part of the form for each place you worked for in the last 18 months.
Yes, thank you. And that is very important because if you work for me for 6 months and I paid unemployment insurance on your behalf and I sent it into the state, and then you quit and left me and go to AMAC and you work for AMAC for 6 months, well, AMAC doesn't pay unemployment insurance, so we'll leave AMAC alone for now. But you go to an employer that pays unemployment insurance and work there for 6 months, and then you go to another one. So that means you have unemployment insurance paid on your behalf by 3 employers. And so you need to fill out all of the places that you worked in that time so that all of that will be looked into to determine your benefit. Also, we're about to go into the self-employed piece. Even in that, so let's say you were working for me for 6 months, and then you decide to quit and said, no, you're not paying me well, I need to start my own business. And you start your own business in that time, then you will also have the opportunity when we look at the form to be able to put that you were self-employed. And if you also work for another employer in that time, you can combine that. But you do that, the combination, under the self-employed side of the application. And so that's that on the employee side. So now we go to self-employed. So self-employed means that you're 1099. You work for somebody as a contractor and they give you a 1099 at the end of the day. Or you work for yourself. You work for yourself, you don't have a 1099, but you have a Schedule C. Now I'm going to let everyone know that if you just started your business this year, or you've never filed a tax return before, it's going to be a lot hard because all of this at some point will need to be verified. So if you said I've been in business for how many years, then you should have been filing taxes all of that time. You should have your Schedule C to show it. You should have your receipt. You should have your bank information. You should be able to justify whatever it is that you're claiming. I always tell everyone I used to be an auditor. Anybody could get audited by the state, by the IRS. And so whatever numbers, whatever information you're going to put on any application, make sure you have the documentation, you have the evidence to back it up. And so if you're self-employed and you've been filing your Schedule C, you have that to be able to show that, yes, I've been self-employed all this time. You have your 1099, a third-party document that will show that somebody paid you as a contractor. If you don't have any of that, then you have to find a way to show that you have been in business. And so I don't know how you are going to be able to prove that, but let's say you started the business January of this year, for example, you have a hairdressing business and then you have to stop it in March because of the COVID, then I will expect that you have 3 months of transaction, not 3 months that will be dated today, but something that was dated in January or February or March. You have a bank account that was open in January. You have deposit going there in January. You have checks that were written in January or February. Then that would be evidentiary to me that you can use. But if you don't have anything until March, then it becomes a little bit difficult. For people that also deal with cash, so you work for somebody and they've been paying you with cash. If you've never filed it on your taxes, then it becomes very difficult. If you not having something signed, so I paid you in cash, but I have you sign a paper document that shows that, okay, you collected the cash, then you don't have anything to base it on. And so I want everybody to know that this is not just filling out forms. This is something that will have to be verified. If you collect it and then it comes out that you're not supposed to, then you could be charged for fraud and you might be made to pay it back. And so, but a lot of people qualifies. I always tell everyone, I'm not saying don't do it, please do it, because a lot of people are struggling during this time. People are losing income and we want to make sure that everybody gets what they need to get. But I'm just saying that whatever you put in, please be mindful that you have to have justification. And so for self-employed and 1099, the form is different. This will also cover people that work for masajid, that work for non-for-profit, that don't pay into the unemployment insurance. By law, there's some employers that are exempted from unemployment insurance. So even though you have a W-2, if you work for a church, you work for a mosque, you're automatically exempted from unemployment insurance. So you have a W-2, but your employer never paid in. And so you can qualify under the pandemic unemployment assistance. Also, you never paid in yourself because you're not required to, then you can qualify under the pandemic. And so to do that, you will need to go to this website. And so we want to share this video with you. If you give me a minute, I'm going to share my screen with you and share this 2-minute video put together by the state that actually gives a very good step-by-step procedure for people that wants to file as self-employed. So give us a minute and I will share that screen with you. Let's take this out. And I'm learning a lot of new trick now with Zoom, so. If you give me a minute, I'm almost there. I just need to minimize some of this stuff and see where I am. And my Zoom screen is gone.
We still see your PowerPoint screen.
You see my PowerPoint? Okay, all right, thank you. Let's see, I want to make sure that I have that. All right, can you see the?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so let's play this video. Let me make it bigger.
If you are a self-employed Tennessean, the following steps will help you navigate the application process on jobs4tn.gov for Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA. First, mark that you are self-employed and you are filing for reasons related to COVID-19. Then type in a job title that closest fits your current duties. Let's say you own a restaurant. To make it easier, please use one of the populated job titles in the drop-down box. Then make a similar selection in the job occupation drop-down menu. Select yes in this box. If you have only been self-employed for the last 18 months, please type in self-employed in the employer search. If you have received a W-2 from an employer within the past 18 months, please add that employer. After typing self-employed, you will click search. Then click I don't see it on this list. Click OK on the box that pops up. Then click I don't see it on this list again. When you are completing your work history, please remember the unemployment system was built for covered employees who are W-2 workers whose employers pay unemployment taxes. When you complete the work history, you are going to receive a wage and separation request asking for the reason the claimant is separated. You do not need to send this information back. Put self-employed in the employer's name and complete the form with your business's information. Click on the blue link in this section and locate an industry code that closest fits the type of work you do. As in our example, I'm a restaurant owner. Type in self-employed in this section. Once you have completed the work history, select no on the next screen and click next. Since your wages are not covered under normal unemployment, you will not see any base period wages. You will receive a monetary determination stating you are not eligible. This is not a denial of your benefits. It is just telling you that you do not have wages for normal UI. The department will take your claim and check for eligibility under PUA. You will receive a monetary determination similar to this as soon as your claim is completed. This does not mean you were denied under pandemic unemployment assistance.
So basically, for people that are self-employed, and that's the video you just saw, but I wanted to show you also the screen of what the video is about. And so when you go in to file your claim, it's going to ask if you are self-employed. You have to say yes. It's also going to ask you if you're filing because of the COVID, you lost your business because of the COVID, your business is reduced because of the COVID, you cannot go to your job because of the COVID, then your answer will be yes. Now, this is where it gets very interesting when you get to this screen here. It's gonna ask you for your job title, right? And so like we did under the employee side, you pick the type of job that you're doing. Say it has a drop down. I don't know if you can see that screen very well. Let me see if I can make that bigger. I don't know if you can see it any bigger, but on the restaurant, you could be a cashier, you could be a crew member. You pick the one that applies to you. And then you go on down, it also asks right here, okay, what type of occupation it is. Again, same thing as in the employee side, where if you remember, we pick program manager for Sabina. And so here again, you do the drop down and you get the occupation that relates to that industry that you picked on the first part. Now, when it gets to your job history, this is where it becomes, I'm trying to see, I'm scrolling down to, there we go, employee, okay. So when it comes to this one, you're not going to have employment history because you don't have, unless you worked half for somebody and got a W-2, and then you also have your self-employment. But typically, if you're just a sole proprietor, a contractor, you will not have this employment history, and that is fine. And so you go down here, and it's going to ask you for your employer. You put in self-employed. So when you just type in self-employed in there, you're going to go ahead and do search. When you do the search, it will bring it that it does not see it. And so you will need to click, I don't see it on this list. It will not be on the list because as a self-employed, you never paid in. And so the system knows that. But in order to continue, you have to go through that step. You search for self-employed, it doesn't bring it up. You click on, I don't see it in this list in order for you to be able to continue. Then it brings in this fancy page again. You do okay. Then once you did that again, it's gonna come back and still say, this is the result. You didn't find anything. Then you click on, I don't see it in this list again. So once you do that, then it will let you go to the next point. The next point, it asks you for your employer. Again, your employer name is self-employed, and that's what you put in there. So anywhere that you have to put an employer name, you put in self-employed. Again, self-employed, 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 and then you go in there. Are there any employment history you want to add? No, unless you have an employment history. So that's what I wanted to make sure that I go ahead and share with all of you, because we've had a lot of questions, a lot of people that got kicked back because they could not see and they didn't know how to complete the self-employed part. We will share the video again. You can look at it at your own time, but it's really very basic. The main thing you have to do is select what type of industry it is, what type of title it is, and then the rest of it, you put self-employed, self-employed. At some point, it's going to ask you for your own detailed information, what is the name of the business and things like that, that you will put later. But your employer will be self-employed. Once you complete all the steps, you will get a letter that looks like this. And that's what the letter will look like. It's going to show that your benefit amount is zero, your maximum benefit is zero. Again, the system, it's a computer, it's looking in and see whether you paid into the unemployment insurance. And like we said, you did not, because you're self-employed and you were not supposed to. That's why it's saying zero. It does not mean you're not going to get benefit. It does not mean you do not qualify for benefit. Go ahead and apply, fill out the information. The state will get back with you and they will validate information. And then once they approve it, then you should be able to get it. Note that they are backlogged at this point. Let me stop that one and see if I can get back into my other presentation. If you give me a second, so we can get back on that one. And so they would go ahead and verify the information that you submit. They would try to go ahead and make sure that once you get onto that one and you fill out the paperwork, they will go ahead and get back with you and see what it is that you have. And so that is, there's also a Q&A on that page. When you go to the State Labor Department website, you should be able, there's a Q&A for employers, there's one for employees, there's also one for self-employed, and a lot of the questions are pretty much covered. So what happens after you apply? So whether you're applying for the unemployment insurance or you're applying for the pandemic unemployment assistance, once you put in your application, so what happens? So what happens is that every week you have to certify the information that you put in there. And that's the first Sunday after you apply. Even if you haven't received your money, even if you haven't got anything, you have to go in there and you have to make sure you keep certifying. The certification is to say that you still don't have a job, you're still applying, and you have to keep doing that. Once you get the money, you will still keep doing that until you get to the point that you can say, now I have a new job, I don't need it anymore. But every week, the state expects you to do the certification. Please be mindful that as soon as you apply, the first Sunday after you apply, you have to start your certification process. Also be mindful that it takes 21 days to process because there's such a huge volume of people that are applying. It's taking a longer time, but don't despair. It's gonna get to you. You can check on your status anytime to see where your case is and if it's been approved. You should get a monetary determination letter. That's what you will get first. And again, if it shows 0-0, like I said, it doesn't mean that you did not complete it, and it doesn't mean that you do not qualify. It's just a system generated based on the information that you put in. And if you're self-employed, that's what it will show. And then you will get a final letter of approval or denial once everything is being looked at. So what if you denied unemployment? You applied for it, you did everything right. What if you denied? Again, for the pandemic unemployment, you may get a denial letter initially. Actually, the state said you will get a denial letter because the system is looking and saying, I don't see your name, I don't see your employer. Why are you trying to apply? Because again, I want to reiterate that the system is built for people that paid into it to be able to get from it. This is a special situation with the COVID where people that did not pay into it are getting from it. So the system will give you a letter that says you do not qualify. Don't worry about it. Don't take any action. You will get back to where you will get a letter finally that will say, okay, we approved it. If after all of that you still did not get it, then you will need to get back. I'll say after a month, because they're saying about 21 days right now, then you may get back and say, okay, I haven't received anything, what's going on? But just be patient. From what we hear, everybody should hear something in 21 days with a determination letter and a monetary amount. So the certification, like I said, is what you have to do. Once you get it, actually before you get it, once you apply. And so you need to be able to go on there. It has to be completed online. You can do it via a phone app. You have to do it every week. And then once you do your certification every week, then you continue to get the money every week. If you don't do the certification, even if you get the money first, if you stop your certification, you're not gonna get the next one. So you have to keep doing it as long as you're still unemployed. If you become employed, then you need to let them know that, okay, I've become employed, I don't need it anymore. But you have to keep doing it. If you're not approved yet, you still have to keep certifying until you get approved. And so what is the certification? The certification is saying that, okay, the amounts that I make every week, this is how much I make this week. You're going to calculate it based on last week. So I submitted it last week. Between last week and today, how much have I made? That's what you're going to put there. If it's 0, it's 0. If you've made something in that time, you put it. How much can you, there's a limit on how much you can make and still get full benefits, but we're still saying that because of the COVID and everything shut down, just put whatever it is. Put it in there and let the state determine whether you're getting it or not. Because of the CARE Act and the way everything is going, there's a lot that even I don't know, a lot of people don't know. We're going to rely on the state to do some determination. So I'm going to encourage everybody to apply and put in the information. If the state determines that you don't qualify, then you don't qualify. If they determine you qualify partially, then you qualify partially. But I'll say put in your information and let the state decide on that. Again, it used to be that you have to keep looking for a job. for people that used to get unemployment insurance. Because of COVID, that requirement is no longer applicable because people cannot look for jobs. People are staying at home. All right. And so if you do not certify for more than 2 weeks, you may be locked out and you may not get any more money. So there is a video on that page that also show you how to do the certification. Because of time, because I want to get the question, when you get this slide, when we share it, go ahead and click on the link and it will take you straight to the video and it walks you through step by step on how to complete the certification.
I wanted to just add, because somebody had a question, to really emphasize that once you apply, don't wait till you get a determination letter or approval or denial. Go ahead and start certifying. Certifying starts the Sunday after you apply. Because there's such a high volume of applications, they're actually staggering people who are trying to certify, and you can do it online on the website, jobsfortennessee.gov, or you can download the Jobs for Tennessee app, and that's what the video was just showing, that how to download the app. So and then you certify there. So you know, if a couple of weeks later you find out you do get benefits, they will go back to the week you started certifying and pay back pay for those weeks. So that's why, whether you get it or not, go ahead and certify. So, I mean, the certification is key to getting the money. And they're actually staggering certifications on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, according to the end of your last 4 digits, which is social security number. But you'll see that online.
Thank you for that. Yeah, because the fact that they will back pay and go from the day that you apply, if you certify, then I think that's very important because you don't want to miss on any benefit while you're waiting for the determination. So this first Sunday after you apply that you submit it is when your certification start. So if you call back to work, you got a new gig, you got another job, something open up and you start collecting money. What if COVID stop and then we all go back? Then you just stop the certification and then the unemployment benefit will stop. All right, at this point, I want to open it up to question and answer. If we have any in the chat box or if we have any that people want to ask so that we can go over that at this time.
Okay, so there's one more question about certification that somebody helped someone on March 22nd apply for unemployment, but they hadn't been certifying. Does she have to reapply now? And I think it would determine what it would be determined on whether or not she got her approval or denial letter, as to whether she is locked out yet or not. Because if you go to more than 2 weeks, so she was approved. So I think just from the time she's approved and how much time has passed since she has certified. And you can always try. Yeah, if you can always go try and certify and see if it works. So money is supposed to be in either the debit card or in your bank account, I think like within 2 days of certifying. So the money is dependent on the certification. So another question that came is, and I think you've answered it kind of back and forth, but like, are employers supposed to be paying into unemployment insurance? And I think this is from the masjid perspective.
Yes. If it's an employer, generally are supposed to be paying into the unemployment insurance for their W-2 employees, not for the contract workers. So for the employees, they're supposed to be paying unemployment insurance. But like I said, some employers are exempted. And so churches, mosques, 501c3 organizations are exempted from the federal unemployment insurance. They're also exempted from the state if they have less than 5 employees. So like AMAC has less than 5 employees, we don't have to pay state unemployment insurance or federal. But NIA has more than 5. NIA get the choice whether they want to pay or not pay. And so it's like that. So typically non-for-profit organizations are exempted, and that includes churches and mosques. But if you're not a non-for-profit organization, then you must pay into the unemployment insurance, both federal and state. You must pay into it. But if you're exempted and your employees fall into that category, then they will need to qualify under the pandemic unemployment assistance.
Any other questions? You can unmute yourself and ask.
I have a question, please.
Please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for the information first. Here's my situation. I work for a company. I get W-2 from this company, and I drive for Uber too. And just December of last year, we started a small partnership, me and my friend. And my question is, I filed employment for the company I work for. Do I qualify to file something with the driving for Uber, and do we qualify to file for EIDL too for the partnership that we created December last year?
Okay, so that's a lot of questions in one. So for the job, yes, you do qualify for your unemployment insurance. For the Uber drive, you qualify if you can justify, because as an Uber driver, you're self-employed. And so if you can show that your income from that Uber is gone down because of the COVID, you're not getting a lot of business, you have to stop your Uber driving, your income went down from the time you started up till now, then you do qualify to apply under the pandemic unemployment assistance. What you would do is you would go ahead and apply under that. You put your self-employed, and then if you have employment history, you will put it in the employment history, and they will look at both for you. And so that's for the Uber self-employed, and then the your real job. Now, when it comes to your partnership, is the partner, and you ask about the EIDL loan, which is different from the unemployment insurance that we're talking about. But your partnership, if you've already started business and you're ready, and I don't know what type of business the partnership is doing, but if you can show that the partnership also is impacted because of the disaster that is going on, then you can apply for the EIDL loan to be able to, but remember the EIDL is a loan. The EIDL is a loan of which the first 10,000 could be forgiven, okay? But you have to put how much income you've made, how much expenses you've had. And so if you have all that information, then you should be able to apply for that. There's nothing that says you cannot. And I'll also say if your partnership has employees, W-2 employees, you also qualify to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. And so you can do all of that. So you just have to take it one at a time. Does that answer your question?
Yes, you did. The only thing is last year, we started the business last year. So when I went to file for the EIDL, you know, the sales for last year is going to be 0. So we put 0 there. So,
yes, it will be, but if it's a business that started last year, remember that the pandemic did not take force until March. So did you have any income? Did you have any activity between December and March?
Yeah, I think
yes.
the date is until February 15th. Like you had to be in business before February 15th.
But you have to show that you have been in business, and the only way to show you've been in business is the activities. How much income did you make? How much expenses do you have? If you can show that, yes, you can apply. But if you don't have anything, then you don't, because there's no way to prove that you do, right? Again, it comes back to being able to prove whatever you're applying for. But starting a business in December doesn't mean you do not qualify. As long as you started before December 15th, February 15th, you qualify, but you have to show that it is a business. What makes a business? A business has a bank account. What makes a business? A business has a transaction. We sold something. We did something. You have to have expenses. I wrote this check. So if you can justify that, then you do qualify. But if you cannot, and your business, because some business starts slow, you haven't paid for anything, you haven't rented any building, if you haven't done anything, you do not qualify. But if you've already started, you rent your building, you pay for some things, you got your inventory, yes, you have something to show, and you can apply.
جزاك الله خيرا, sister.
I have a question, Sister Zulfat. This is Hisham. And regarding who has 1099, like all self-employee under 1099 form or K1 form. There is, I know it's 1099, they might be qualified for unemployment if they lost their job because they are a self-contractor, you know, or self-employed. But regarding the businesses, like, or the business who has like K1, like who file under K1 by the end of the year, how they can apply for this loan, and if there is any loan for these specific businesses or not?
Businesses that K1 goes to individuals. It doesn't go to the business. The business file K1 for the shareholders. So if you get a K1, if you have a shares in an S corporation or you have a partnership. So there's a partnership that has transaction for the year, or an S corporation. Those are the ones that issue K1s, right? And so in order to be able to give K1s to your shareholders, you have to have transaction, right? Again, it comes back to the company, because it has transaction, because it was able to give K1 to its shareholders, can apply for the loan. Not an employment insurance, we're talking at the company level. That's what you're asking me. Then the company can apply for EIDL loan, because the company, before you can give somebody a K1, you must have had transactions, whether it's a profit, whether it's a loss, you have to be able to show that. So before you can do a K1, you have to have businesses. And so if you have those transactions, yes, you qualify for the, to file for the EIDL loan. And yes, you can apply for the EIDL.
And my bookkeeper, he should know about that, right?
Yeah, people should know about that. If somebody got a K1, that means that they have a ownership in a business, right? So that means they have
it's a business. Yes, you're right. It's a business. Yes.
Yeah, it means that they have an ownership in a business. And so because they have an ownership in a business, the business can apply for a loan. Now, are you asking if the individual can apply for unemployment insurance? Is that, I mean, I'm trying to understand the question, but the business, the company can apply for the loan.
Yes, I'm talking about the company. They can apply for the loan.
Okay, yes, the company can
okay,
apply
and
for
what?
the loan.
And what's about what they talk about? It's what they call it the 10,000 crisis loan, a forgivable loan for the businesses. What's that exactly?
So that's the EIDL loan. It's part of the disaster recovery for businesses. And so you apply for a loan. You have to be able to show that because of the disaster and everything going on, you couldn't do your business, you have expenses to pay. And so you apply for that loan. When you do apply for the loan, based on whatever you submit, you get the loan. The loan is low interest. I believe it's about 2.75 the last time that I checked, or 3. But the first 10,000 of that loan could be free, meaning that if you get the loan, the first 10,000, you don't have to pay it back. Right now, that's what the government is saying. So if your company qualifies and you have the information, I would say go ahead and apply for it, because up to 10,000, it doesn't mean you will get 10,000. So I want to be very careful. You get up to 10,000. You may get 10,000, might get 8,000 as an advance. They give you that first. And then once they finish up the processing, they will calculate it and say, okay, you need to get 20,000 more at 2.75 interest, or whatever the interest rate is going to be. So yes, you can apply up to 10,000. The first 10,000, the government says, the SBA said that could be forgiven or will be forgiven.
Oh, yes, sister. Okay, that's fine. And one more question, which is going to be the last one for me, regarding what's been saying on the news that the government is running out of that loans they've been giving, and there's a lot of businesses still not getting these loans they've been applying for. Is that been true, that the government didn't have that much to give right now?
It is true that the instruction is that you apply as soon as possible, because once the money run out, that's the end of it. And so, and a lot of people have applied and they haven't got it back. Because once you put in your information, it's very easy to put in the information. It takes less than 10, 20 minutes to put it in. But once they get it, they assign it to a small business loan officer. The small business loan officer will get in touch with you. They will verify the information. They will ask you for the information. Then they will give you the money. And because of the same thing is happening with the unemployment, a lot of people are applying. And so it's just so backlogged that they haven't been able to get to everybody. My suggestion is if you do qualify, if you're able to justify that you do need the help and because of the virus, your business is hurting and you need to be able to stay in business, then go ahead and apply for it. Go ahead and apply for it. And then once they get to it, let's say the money run out, they might decide to put more money into it. But right now they're accepting application. When they cut it off, that's when you don't qualify anymore. But right now they're saying you can still apply. So go ahead and apply for EIDL loan if you do qualify for that. If you have employees, you have W-2 employees that work for your business, my preference, my suggestion to everybody is that the best thing is the payroll protection program that you can get for your employees. Is very direct, it's straightforward. And if you use that money to pay for payroll, you don't have to pay that back. As long as you spend at least 75% on that on payroll, that's a very good one. So if you have employees, try that first. If you don't have employees, do the EIDL. If you're not a business and just an individual, then go ahead and apply for the unemployment insurance or the pandemic insurance assistance. And so that's the tier. That's how that would go.
Jazakallah khairan, sister.
Do we have any other question?
If there is no one, I might have one more for you then.
All right, and we will inshallah translate this into Kurdish and Arabic and Somali to be able to share.
Inshallah.
And then if we have, we may have people that can assist folks to fill it out. Want to get the information.
And the question is, sister, if like I have an employee work for me as a subcontract, like I give him the 1099 because he worked part-time, go forth and back, and I give him 1099 by the end of the year for what he worked for me. What under which protocol or what under which like chapter he fall in, like which kind of unemployment he can go under?
Because you're giving the person a 1099, they will go under the pandemic unemployment assistance, which is the one that we went through for self-employed people. So 1099 people are considered self-employed people, and so they will qualify for unemployment insurance. If they can show that, again, your business is closed, they're not working for you anymore, they're losing job and things like that, then they will qualify under the self-employment or self-employed pandemic unemployment assistance.
Okay, thank you very much, sister.
That's on the state website. You're welcome, sir.
And they have to apply by themselves in this case, right?
They can. I think you can have somebody. They have to apply by themselves. Yes.
I cannot apply on their behalf. And I say this employee for me because they're not under W-2.
You cannot. The only time an employer can apply for the employees is if it is W-2 employees, and you have a lot of employees. If you don't have a lot of employees, you don't need to do that. Everybody does their own. So in this case, somebody is working for you, you have a business, and that person is getting a 1099 from you. So technically that person has a business. So you will apply for yourself if you want to apply for the unemployment insurance. And I apologize for all the noise in the background. And then they would apply for themselves as a self-employed person too. So it would be you by yourself, them by themselves.
Yes, but as a business, I still can apply for a loan to cover my expenses, which is my utility, my rent, my all that, right? As a small business.
You can apply for loan anytime, but do remember that there's COVID to help you during this period. And you have to say that to keep my business going during COVID. So you cannot just say, okay, I just want more money to just do stuff. But yes, to keep your business going during this time and you need help, you can apply for the loan. The loan is, the interest rate is very low. So that's why it's good for businesses. The other reason is that they made it because the SBA, the government, is the one that will guarantee the loan. The bank don't have anything to lose. So it's a lot easier to get the loan. So if you have a business and you have a need during this time to pay your bills, to keep your business afloat, yes, you can apply for the loan.
Thank you, and Jazakallah khair, sister.
Okay. So just a reminder, I don't think there are any more questions unless somebody wants to jump in, but we will update the AMAC website, and I guess we will update the AMAC website at www.amactn.org, COVID-19 resources, and I put it in the chat box, but all these resources, all these links are all there, whether it's the applying for unemployment or getting the loans for your businesses or masjid.
And we did have
Jazakallah khair.
we had another video that we did about 2 weeks ago that is specifically for those that have employees and want to do the paycheck protection program. You can find information. There were a lot of questions that were asked on that. All of that is on there too. And mashallah, Sabina did a wonderful job of having a very good COVID-19 resource page on the AMAC page. What I'm going to ask everyone to please do for us is that share those links, like it on Facebook, sign on to our newsletter, and I'm asking the Masajid to post a link to on their website so that our membership and people can see this information. It's a lot easier if we do it that way than everybody calling one by one, which, you know, it's difficult to get to. But I want everyone to get the information. We want you to apply as soon as possible because, again, the money is running out. That is true. A lot of people need help, and we want to make sure that people that need help are actually getting it.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Sister Sabina, and thank you for everybody, you know, for that help, and hopefully it's going to be beneficial for everyone in the community. And even if out of our community, we can spread it for everyone. He can get help with that, you know.
Yes.
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 It's for everyone. It's not just for the Muslim community. We're going to share it with anyone that need the information, and it's for anyone that need help. So we're not looking that benefits to just the Muslim community. We cannot do that. We don't want to do that. Actually, for me as a council person, a lot of people in Nashville, I represent them on the council, and so I want them to get the information as well. So this is something we want to share with everybody so that everyone has the information. There's a lot of information out there. It's just so difficult finding where to look. That's why we decided to do this. And like I said, Sabina has done a wonderful job putting all this information together and answering all the questions that we can answer. And if you have any more questions, send it to her. We will try and get to it. But please look at the resource page first. Look at the video first. Most of the questions are already answered.
Jazakallah khair. Okay.
All righty. Thank you all so much
Thank you.
Thank you.
for joining us. All right. Assalamu
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.